The winds of change have blown through Progressive Field, and the Tribe has a new left side of the infield to talk about. On the field, the Tribe welcomes the struggling Mariners, who they took 3 out of 4 from at Safeco Field just over a week ago. Runs should be at a premium, as Corey Kluber, who struck out 13 Seattle hitters on May 28th, makes the start. Next on Sports Time Ohio. The eyes of the sporting world are on Cleveland, Ohio tonight. Later on, the Cavaliers are in action in Game 3 of the NBA Finals. But first up, here at Progressive Field, fans filing in for a series opener between the Cleveland Indians and the Seattle Mariners. Hi again, everyone. Matt Underwood alongside Rick Manning. When last we left you, the Indians had a completely different look to the left side of the infield. Wow, what a move the Indians have made. You're talking about almost middle of June, and the Indians decided to let's get in here. Let's go with Giovanni Urshela at third base. And at least for the time being, we're going to see a lot of Mike Aviles at shortstop.
Well, Aviles has been playing short for the most of the last week, so Ramirez going back down, Chisenhall going back to the minor leagues. They have some work they have to do, because I'll tell you what, the production from the left side of the infield just hasn't been there, and they need some offense. They're, right around the 500 mark. They're looking for a spark. A couple of these young guys are going to get an opportunity, and don't be surprised if you see the young Francisco Lindor up here before too long. I mean, you're starting to make moves. It's about his time.
All right, so tonight's ball game features another terrific pitching matchup. For Cleveland, it's Corey Kluber, and for Seattle, Roenis Elias, who we saw out on the left coast the last time the Indians squared off against the Mariners, and it was a well-pitched game.
Well, Corey Kluber went out there, and all he did was punch out 13 Seattle Mariners. He was hurt by the long ball. He gave up 2 home runs in that game, but other than that, he was devastating. A good fastball, a good slider. I mean, he was typical Corey Kluber, getting that trip started on the right foot. He's going to come back, get another crack at him tonight against the left-hander Elias. He ended up taking a loss against the Indians. He gave up the most runs to them. It was 4 in his 5 1/3 innings, but he had control problems out there. In his career, he's 0-2 against the Tribe.
The interesting thing about Seattle is offensively, we've talked a lot about the Indians' struggles. How about this? The Mariners in their last 12 games have scored 3 runs or less each time out. That equals a franchise mark for the Mariners. When we come back, we'll hear from Andre Knott down on the field as he caught up with the new Indians third baseman Giovanni Urshela. That's coming up next. Cleveland Indians baseball is brought to you by W.B. Mason, the official office supplier of the Cleveland Indians. By McDonald's, I'm loving it. By your local Toyota dealers. Visit buyatoyota.com. Toyota, let's go places. And by the injury lawyers at Elk & Elk, proud sponsors of the Cleveland Indians. Call 1-800-ELK, Ohio. beautiful night here in downtown Cleveland. Indians Mariners ready to roll in a 3-game series. Indians took 3 out of 4 from the Mariners in Seattle. And now the Seattle club embarking on a long road trip that will start here. They'll head to Houston. And as they make their way back west before they head home, it's a long trip for the Mariners, Houston, and then go San Francisco after these 3 games with the Indians. And it's a Mariners club that's struggling offensively right now. As I mentioned, they just have not been able to score. And this goes back. This streak started the day before the Mariners came home to open up a long homestand, which began with 4 against Cleveland, and they had the Yankees for 3 and Tampa Bay for 4. They won 2 games on that homestand.
Yeah, I know it. They struggled. But you know what? It started in Tampa, and it started with Chris Archer, if you remember, because the strikeout pitchers, they have gone through a stretch where they faced Archer twice. Kluber, they'll be facing him again. They had Bauer. They had Panera from the Yankees, CeCe, Tanaka, Odorizzi, Colome,
a lot of
Ramirez,
strikeout pitchers.
Markham, and Salazar.
Well, our stat of the game brought to you by Buick. 3 runs or fewer on a homestand of 10 games or more. This is the Mariners are.
Ouch.
They did it back in 2010 as well. But this streak actually started, as I mentioned, the day before they came home.
Right.
When they lost to Tampa Bay by a score. Actually, they beat Tampa Bay. It was 3-0. That was the game Felix Hernandez pitched. But so 12 straight games, they've scored 3 runs or less, and that just makes it tough to get any kind of traction offensively. Let's go down to Andre Nadu, who has more on the Indians roster moves and the newest addition, Giovanni Urshela.
Well, guys, for Giovanni Urshela, it's been a long road here. After really climbing up the charts of the Indians minor league staff, basically over the last 2 years, he's dealt with injuries for the last year and a half. And basically he had to deal with a back injury, then a knee injury. But he says he's completely healthy. He's extremely excited to be here with the Indians. And really, he says everything took off for him when he decided to start working out a little bit more in the gym, working on his strength and his power, and he showed up last year in AAA and AA. He hopes that bat will help him here. The team feels like defensively they've never worried about the type of player he was going to be. They just hope that he can figure out things with the bat, but they think that he can stand up strong here in his major league debut.
Well, certainly a lot of expectations and eyes will be on him. He's just 23 years old, his first taste of the big leagues. Got to AAA for the first time a year ago and was there this season. But as Andre outlined there, some back injuries slowed him down a little bit. But I think everyone's excited for the young man, and certainly understandable why. He's a solid player all the way around, and now he's going to get an opportunity here in the show. And let's take a look right now at the starting lineup Corey Kluber will face for Lloyd McClendon's Mariners tonight. Brought to you by Toyota. Logan Morrison moves into the leadoff spot. He's hitting 14 straight. Austin Jackson batting second, then Robinson Cano. Nelson Cruz followed by Kyle Seager, who's got great career numbers against the Indians. Seth Smith bats sixth. Mark Trumbo, a new addition since the Indians last saw the Mariners, will bat seventh. Brad Miller eighth, and Mike Zunino will hit ninth.
Tonight's Northern Ohio Honda starting pitcher will be Corey Kluber. He is making his 13th start this year. He's 3-6. The Tribe 3-9 in his starts this year. At home, he's been better. 5 games, 2-2, and a 2.94 ERA. He beat Seattle out on the West Coast, and you can see in his last 5, 3-1. 59 punch-outs. You can see just 3 walks. So he's been on a nice roll. Let's check out that defense, which is brought to you by Chrysler. It looks like this. Rayburn's in left, Brantley in center, Moss in right. Urshela gets a start at third. Aviles at short. Kipnis at second. Santana at first. Gomes is catching.
Dale Scott, the crew chief, has the plate tonight. Diane Isanya, C.B. Buckner, and Gabe Morales on the bases. And we are ready to go as Logan Morrison stands in for Seattle. Swings at the first pitch. Lazy fly ball, shallow left, long run in. Nobody's going to get there. Rayburn could not get in to make a play on the ball. And Morrison has a leadoff single on just a little flare to left.
Well, it was one of those big swings, went off the end of the bat. They're going to get aggressive off Kluber, you know that. So he just placed it perfectly. Nothing you could do. As a left fielder, down and away, it was a good two-seam fastball. Falls for a base hit. But I looked at the lineup today, and the first thing I thought was Logan Morrison leading off. You know, the first baseman who was hitting, sixth when we were out in Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to shake things up probably a little bit.
Austin Jackson batting .275. And Kluber's first pitch is in there for a strike. Jackson has mostly batted leadoff. "25 games he's been in the leadoff spot. This will be his 10th in the number 2 hole in the order. You know, when the Indians went to Seattle to open that series, was a 4-game series. The Mariners were opening a long homestand. Seattle was 500. They were 23-23. Felt like they had some momentum. Things were going well, and the bottom fell out on that homestand.
Well, remember, they were flying high. You're right. They felt pretty good about themselves. With their longest homestand of the year, you know, coming into play was that 11-gamer they just went through.
High expectations for Lloyd McClendon this year with the moves they made in the offseason and
absolutely
the direction they were headed after a year ago.
And already went out and made a trade and added Mark Trumbo to the lineup.
Now the 0-2, maybe 2. Can't get it out of the glove. Aviles gets the out at second base. He had trouble just getting a grip on the baseball, but he's able to get Morrison one away.
Well, Mike didn't panic right there. Maybe tried to be a little too quick because that ball was not hit all that hard. So he says, let me get Kip the ball in a hurry and just rush it a little bit. But with the bobble, he didn't panic. He gets him the ball. Look how lucky he was. That ball sitting on his shoulder. He was able to keep it under control, grip the ball, and get it into second base to still get the out.
Well, up comes Robinson Cano. I don't care what the numbers say. He's always dangerous when he's in the box.
Well, he's always been very good against the Indians that we've seen. That sweet swinging Robbie Cano, who you would look at that 239 and say there's no way, but he's having one of those years.
He only went 2 for 9 in the series against the Indians, but he did hit a home run, drove in 3. But those 2 hits represent half his hit total in his last 31 at-bats.
Yeah.
4 for 31 is hard to believe.
It is.
To left center. Nobody's going to catch this one. Brantley plays it. Coming around third, being waved home is Jackson. Aviles throw to the plate. And he's safe at the dish. Robinson Cano with an RBI double. And the Mariners will play from in front tonight. They lead it 1-0.
Yeah, and that's the thing of it right there when you see Robbie Cano going to left center field. And that ball hits the base of the wall. Rayburn went all out, and he ended up making a sliding attempt on the track. And just comes up empty. He missed it by a half. And actually, when you look at it, Jackson was all the way around second base, and he just barely made it to home plate. So Cano gets his 19th RBI, gets his 13th double. And as you said, Seattle playing from in front.
And up comes Nelson Cruz. Swing and a miss.
You watch how Jackson takes off, and he gets around second thinking it's going to fall, but never really kicks it into gear. It almost looks like he's on cruise control. And boy, I'll tell you, it's a lot closer than they wanted it to be. But he's safe.
Nelson Cruz hit his major league leading 18th home run on May 26th. He still leads the American League in home runs, but Bryce Harper and Giancarlo Stanton have passed him for the overall home run lead in the majors. Swing and a miss. It's 1-2.
Yeah, you just certainly cannot stay on a pace that he was off to. He was so hot. As you said, May 26th, you have 18 homers. I mean, that's a pace where you're going to hit 60 home runs, throughout the course of the year if he stayed on that pace. And his home run, the thing that he has done, he still has his batting average at .329. So he's getting his base knocks, so he's not trying to leave the yard. He's not striking out a boatload.
To short, Aviles will go to first. They get the out there, 2 down. Robinson Cano goes to third on the play. Keys to the game are brought to you by Wayside Furniture. Already the Mariners have scratched out a run in the top half of the first. And this is a Seattle club that, we remember in Seattle at that time, I want to say it was right around 46, almost 50% of their runs had come because of the home run.
I'm thinking 43 to be exact. I'm not,
yeah.
But you're right, most of the time. And if you remember in that series, Matt, remember the first 2.5 games, that's the only way they scored until they got that late run in the 7th inning, I believe it was, on a base hit.
Now, Mike Pocket tells me it was 46% at the time we went into Seattle. Of the 46% of the runs had come on the home run. So
you can't live with the home run ball because you're going to die by the home run ball when you have your droughts and you face tough pitching.
Maybe that's a big reason why they've lost 9 of 11 and haven't scored a lot.
That's exactly right. You have to manufacture and create runs.
They've done that here in the first. Swing and a miss. 1-1 the count.
Well, they created one. And that's because Cano got a hit, and he's been struggling. So he's paid to drive in runs and to hit. He did tonight.
Nice pick in the dirt there by Gomes. Kyle Seager has over 100 career at-bats against Cleveland Indians pitching. And he's hitting .375 with a couple of homers. Only 6 runs batted in. But he's been able to get his share of hits against Cleveland Indians pitchers. Upstairs, 3 balls and a strike. In Cleveland, he's had even more good times.
Well, his first trip into this ballpark, he made a killing.
Just a little bit high. And a 2-out walk keeps the inning alive for Seth Smith. Window Systems, game time temperature 72 degrees. Light breeze at times will be blowing out towards center field. But all in all, it's about as ideal as you could get.
Yeah, it's turned out to be very nice. It was sort of ugly this morning, but right now, very nice.
2 on, 2 out, Seth Smith. A .258 hitter, but he's capable of leaving the yard. We saw it in Seattle. Smith was 4 for 17 in the 4-game series with a home run. Good pitch.
Yes, it was. Nice little slider on the outside part of the plate.
Smith gave up on it initially and just watched it flutter over the outside corner.
Well, started him off away. Now, you know what? That's a great pitch. You may want to go right back out there because, if you're going to get that pitch, stay out there.
Two-strike offering. Swung on and missed. Kluber strikes him out to end the inning. But the Mariners strike first, lead it 1-0. The Indians are coming to bat. Terry Francona going to watch his offense go to work here in the bottom of the first against left-hander Roenis Elias. And the Tribe starting lineup brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Jason Kipnis leading it off, followed by Carlos Santana. Then it's Michael Brantley back in the lineup. Ryan Rayburn bats cleanup. Nick Swisher fifth. Jan Gomes sixth. Brandon Moss will bat seventh. 7 for 17 against this Mariners staff. Giovanni Urshela making his major league debut batting eighth. And Mike Aviles will hit ninth.
Tonight's Northern Ohio Honda starting pitcher will be 26-year-old Roenis Elias. The left-hander, the Indians beat him out in Seattle. He went 5 1/3 innings, 5 hits. He gave up the most runs that he's given up this year, 4, but he also had control issues then. The bullpen gave up 1 after he left the game. That was responsible to his docket.
First ball swinging, Kipnis bounces it right at his counterpart, Robinson Cano, who throws him out. 1 down.
And let's take a look at that Seattle defense, which is brought to you by Chrysler. Smith is in left, Jackson at center, Cruz in right, Seager at third, Miller at short, Cano at second, Morrison is at first, Zunino behind the plate.
Up comes Carlos Santana. Santana just 1 for 9 in the recently concluded series against Baltimore. Pops this one back out of play.
Elias coming off a start. His last time out against the Tampa Bay Rays. He pitched 8 innings, gave up 5 hits and just 2 runs. He took the loss. They only scored 1 for him. He has been a victim of poor run support from the Mariners, as you would expect. This averages 2.60 runs. And they've scored 1 or 2 in 7 of the 8 starts.
Santana with a solid single to center field and a 1-out base runner for the Tribe here in the bottom of the first.
You see a pitch elevated a little bit, and Santana able to hit it right back up the middle for the base hit.
Roenis Elias, another Cuban who defected through Mexico. It's been interesting to see how the Cuban players have, through great risk and peril, defected from Cuba, but they've had a very good and I think more overall, Rick, a very positive impact on Major League Baseball.
There's been some very good players, that have come out of Cuba, made it to the major leagues, and have stuck.
And for the most part, given, I guess, everything they've been through just to get here, they're a pretty tough lot. Not much phases them. To center field, Jackson makes the grab, and Santana will have to retreat to first, 2 down. I mean, a bases-loaded jam if you're on the mound doesn't make the heart rate rise when you're compared to when you're on a boat in the middle of the ocean.
Or a raft.
You can't see 2 feet in front of your face.
Right. Yeah.
You don't know what's out there in the water if you go overboard.
All things being even, you're right. That's absolutely nothing. This is a game.
Ryan Rayburn looks at a ball inside. Rayburn a .310 average, as you see there. .333 average overall against left-handed pitching. Right at the shortstop, and kicks off Miller into center field. Santana's going to go to third. So a wicked hop. Miller usually pretty sure-handed, but he could not come up with that one. And now the Indians have runners at the corners with 2 down and an opportunity to take advantage of an extra out.
Well, this ball hit right on the nose by Rayburn, and it's right there for Miller. He just can't field it cleanly. And with 2 outs, Santana hustling, getting to third base, so the error on Miller makes it the 31st for the Mariners. It's only their third in the league in defense as far as making errors.
I don't think his glove ever touched that ball. It looked like it got him maybe up on the wrist or even the forearm. So let's see if Nick Swisher can draw the Indians even with a 2-out base hit here.
Well, the extra out, boy, that's when you like to make it pay. Especially when you have 2 outs in the inning.
To center field, and Austin Jackson will make the catch. No runs, a hit, 2 men left after 1. It's Seattle 1, Cleveland 0.
Live Indians baseball all season long with MLB.com at bat on your smartphone or tablet. You can stay connected with live radio broadcasts, stats, breaking news, and more. Download MLB.com at bat, the #1 app for live baseball.
The second inning features the bottom third of the order for Seattle. Mark Trumbo, Brad Miller, and Mike Zunino. Trumbo began the year with the Diamondbacks. He started 40 games in right field, one at first base with Arizona. And a strike called. And a right-handed slugger, slow going thus far in his brief time with the Mariners. Just 2 for 16. But he batted .259, 9 homers, 23 RBIs with Arizona. We, of course, remember him earlier in his career with the Angels, and a guy who looked like, oh man, another big slugger, right-handed bat.
He had a lot of power. You know, you find his zone. He can hit it out of any ballpark. He never really had a man with a position. You know, he's played first. He's played a little outfield. He's DHing. But you take the risk on this guy because he can hit the ball out of the ballpark. Now, can he do it consistently? Who knows? And in Seattle, if he hits him, he can hit him anywhere, like I said. But Arizona wanted to take a chance with him, and it didn't last long, did it?
No. The 0-2 pitch. Weekly tap to second base. Jason Kipnis will throw him out, 1 down. Well, the Major League Baseball draft began this morning. Was it this morning or yesterday?
Well, yesterday. Last night, yes.
And here's who the Indians have selected thus far. A lot of high school pitchers early on. One out for Brad Miller, the Mariners shortstop. Low and away. Ball 1. Miller batting just .228.
Well, he didn't offensively have a very good series against the Indians. At least there's a base hit after you say that.
Well, he broke his bat, yeah, and it just drops in. 1 out single here in the first. So go downstairs to Andre Knott, who wants to add a little more to the Indians draft.
Well, Brady Aiken, the first pick for the Tribe at number 17, was the former #1 pick just a year ago. And Terry Francona says he was in the back of the draft room, and he says he was eating pizzas, keeping to himself. And when he saw that name go to the Indians, he jumped up and went and got more pizza. He's excited because he feels like Aiken's a guy that's got size, power. He also is just getting off the Tommy John surgery, and he says, hey, maybe they're getting that out of the way early. That may be a good thing. He goes, when you're trying to get in the playoffs year in and year out, you just don't have the opportunity to get that type of talent every single day. A lefty that's 6'4", 220 pounds, and can get up to 96, 97 miles an hour.
Well, that's if he comes off of surgery and, you know, he can pitch the way he once did. There's always a risk there.
1 on, 1 out for Mike Zunino. And the Mariners catcher takes a called strike. And he's quickly in the hole, 0-2. Zunino, 7 homers, 15 driven in on the year. Just 1 for his last 22, covering his last 9 games. A little bit low.
I remember Zunino chasing a few pitches when Kluber was on the mound out there in the other batter's box, as a matter of fact, when he had his 13 strikeouts. But he spits on that one, 0-2.
Well, remember, Rick, it wasn't long after we left. In fact, I think it was a week ago tonight when he got kicked out of a game. He and Lloyd McClendon both. McClendon made quite a spectacle of it, but Zunino was a check swing. And the umpire rung him up, and he started arguing. McClendon came out, kicked his hat, threw his hat.
Went to every umpire, didn't he, along the way?
He took his argument He appealed to every court and was denied. Popped him up. Shallow right over near the line is Kipnis. And makes the catch 2 away. Top of the order, Logan Morrison, who singled. Little flare that fell in shallow left his first time up. I think it was Terry Francona. You and I were at an event recently. We heard him talking about the instant replay system, and about the only time you see a manager go out and argue and get ejected anymore is balls and strikes.
And that's, you can't replay that.
It's
up and down, really, from the dugout and from where you see it. They just think, and they hear, the players talking when they come back about strike zone. So usually that's it. Check swing, strike zone, when you think about it.
Swung on and missed.
Yeah, you don't see many arguments anymore, do you? I mean, where they just run out because of replay. It takes a lot away from the umpires. All right, let's go review it. They go to the review room. I'm sorry, we overturn it or call stands. It's pretty simple. Although there are some that take a little while to look at.
Take a little while to sort things out. Well, in fact, a weird one. We didn't get an argument, but it was a weird one in Seattle when Terry Francona ultimately ended up filing a protest towards the end of the game because it was a strange play. And I think the umpires almost admitted him that we kind of botched that, but we can't go back and change it now.
And they can't. It's one you can't review because it was called a foul ball, and anything in front of the bases cannot be reviewed.
1-1.
But the Indians ended up winning the game, so no harm, no foul. But they did get it wrong.
Well, they called it foul and then overturned it and said he was out, and that ended the inning. And Terry said, "Wait a minute, when you say foul, everything stops. The ball's dead."
Right.
And he said they didn't really have a good explanation, and that's when he said, "Well, then I'm going to have to file a protest just in case we should happen to lose this game."
And the crew chief says, "I understand why you will."
Yeah.
There was no hard feelings whatsoever. The good thing is nothing needed to be done about it.
Runner goes on the 1-2 pitch, and it's low, and Gomes couldn't dig it out to make a throw. So it'll be a steal for Miller, his 5th.
Yeah, you picked the right pitch. You got a 1-2 count. You've got your left-hander up there. You figure you're going to get a breaking ball. You start your runner, and guess what? He got a breaking ball. It was in the dirt. Gomes couldn't do anything with it. So 5th stolen base for Miller. Not even a throw. He goes in standing.
A lot of strikes for Corey here at the outset. 22 out of 31 have been strikes. Not surprising the way he attacks hitters. And that's fouled off. After dropping 2 out of 3 to Baltimore, the Indians slipping to 2 games below that break-even mark. Still only 5.5 games out of first. Seattle, meanwhile, 7 games below the 500 mark and 8 games off the pace in the AL West. The 2-2. And it's a fair ball just inside the bag down the third base line. Scoring on the play is Miller. Headed for second base and in standing with a 2-out RBI double, Logan Morrison, and he's 2 for 2 on the night.
Boy, he just slapped at that ball and kept it fair. That's really a nice job of hitting with 2 outs. You drive in the run. Let's see where that pitch, but that's not a bad pitch. A 4-seam fastball down and away, and he didn't try to pull it. The first one hit off the end of the bat. He stayed on that one nicely and drives in his 15th run. So Seattle comes back, scores another one here in the second. 1 in the first, 1 in the second off Kluber.
Austin Jackson scored a run in the first. Reached on a fielder's choice. To right field. Drifting back is Brandon Moss. And makes the catch. The inning over, but Seattle with a run in each of the first 2 frames leads it 2-0.
Dog Night will take place on Friday, June 19th. The Rays will be in town. Dollar Dogs post-game fireworks show. Visit Indians.com for your ticket details.
Two 2-0 Seattle. Here in the bottom half of the second inning. Yan Gomes, Brandon Moss, and Giovanni Urshela will bat for the Tribe. Roenis Elias, and Gomes greets him with a long drive to deep center field. Goodbye! Gomes clears the 19-foot wall in center field for his first home run of the year. And he gets the Indians on the board here in the bottom of the second inning. And he is starting to really feel it offensively. You noticed it coming on in that Baltimore series. He went 5 for 12 against the Birds, now 7 for his last 17.
Yeah, he's starting to get aggressive. He's swinging the bat. He's tightening down his zone. He likes the ball down. He got great extension on that one. Hits it into the left field bleachers and gets the Indians on the board.
We're going to get a challenge maybe from Lloyd McClendon, or at least he may ask the umpires to look at it. You could see a fan leaning over the railing and catching that baseball. This doesn't have to be a case where McClendon has to actually challenge it himself. He just might ask the umpires if they'll take a look at it.
I thought that ball was well out of here.
Well, a fan reached over the railing and caught it. So the question is, would it have cleared the yellow line had the fan not reached over? And so that's where the umpires will convene. If they feel like they want to take a look at it, they will.
Let's see. Was he in the purple?
They're not going to take another look at it. Yeah,
no,
he reaches
that's
over.
Long gone. That was. I thought his glove was back behind the railing, wasn't it?
No, it was over the railing.
Was it?
Watch him reach over. He kind of had it and kind of flipped it back. But doesn't matter. It's a home run. They're not going to go back and take another look. They were convinced it had enough to clear the yellow line, which is all it has to do in their mind. Brandon Moss looks at ball one. But really a great sign to see Gomes breaking out offensively. It's got to feel really good for him. When you miss that much time, you're trying to jump in the middle of the season where everybody else is rolling.
Well, you could see he was pressing. He was trying so hard sometimes. He wanted 3-1, or you get runners in scoring position, and he wants to do everything. He just has to relax a little bit, and he'll be just fine.
That's going to be out of play.
That's what happens, though, Matt, when you miss, 6 weeks of a baseball season trying to come back. He'll be just fine.
You only really had that one lengthy stint on the DL, right, early in your career?
Yeah, that was it.
How much did you miss? How much time did you?
Probably about 8 weeks.
So you would know exactly kind of what Moss or what Gomes is going through.
Yeah, you missed June, July, August, and I was back in September. So, 2 months. But you miss that kind of time. You're in no way. You may think you're ready to play and you're physically okay, but it takes you a while to get into a groove with the boys that have been playing every day.
Good breaking ball, and I think Moss, he knew it. He was just hoping it wasn't going to be over the plate. First strikeout for Elias. Well, here is the Major League debut of Giovanni Urshela. His family in attendance. And he takes a strike. 23 years old, out of Columbia. Right back up the middle. Backhanding it, Cano. From the outfield grass, throws him out. one of the few second basemen that can make that long buggy whip throw. And Urshela retired for out number 2.
Well, Cano has always been able to make this throw. He'll go to his backhanded side, take a step and gather himself. And, we've seen him do that for years, and it's really no big deal for him. He does it better than any of them, any second baseman in the league. We even seen him go a little under, even more than that. But a nice play. When it first left the bat, I thought it was going to be a base hit. He'll get another crack at it.
Mike Aviles with 2 down and the bases empty. Indians down a run at 2-1. Another ball headed up the middle. Miller can't get it. And a 2-out single will keep the inning alive as Mike Aviles.
You see, Aviles didn't hit his ball as hard, but he placed it better. Yeah. And it almost looked like a little cue shot. It was off the end of the bat, but I don't think he could have placed it anymore. Urshela's going to have to ask Mike how to do that.
Sometimes it isn't how, but where you hit him.
Go to the shortstop side of that. Don't go to the second base side, kid. You got to know that.
Did you also notice how it hit the backside of the mound, hit the grass, and just stayed? Didn't bounce.
Yeah.
It just rolled right through the infield after that. Flatten it out. Jason Kipnis looks at a ball outside. Kipnis showing no signs of slowing down. He went 5 for 10 against the Orioles. He's hit in 5 straight games, 7 for his last 19 overall, including tonight's ground out. At home, Kipnis has been...
He's been over 400. I don't know if he's still over there.
407.
But I'll tell you what, he was...
the best home batting average in the league by a bunch. The next closest to him is J.J. Redick of Oakland, who's hitting .373. Good off-speed pitch.
Nice breaking ball there. Check this slider out on the Nissan pitch tracker going down and away. Starts out a strike, looks like it's a strike, ends up out of the strike zone. Yeah, he locked him up too with that.
So, a couple of strikeouts in the second, and the inning is over. But Yan Gomes gets the Tribe on the board, 2-1 after 2. Well, for reigning Cy Young Award winners through their first 12 starts, here's a look at some guys who have fallen on tough times in terms of run support. And Corey Kluber is among that group.
Yeah. I mean, they go out there, they're not going to give up many, but sometimes that happens. I mean, you look on the other side, even though Elias is not a Cy Young Award winner, his run support is 260. So going out there, I don't care who you pitch for, it's just tough to win when you don't get many runs.
Nice play by Jason Kipnis. Takes a liner off the bat of Robinson Cano for out number 1.
This is one of those balls that was hit right at him. I don't know. He got up there. He might have thought it was going to be higher than what it truly was, but no problem for Kip.
Nelson Cruz grounded to short his first time up. Back out of play.
I think the last time Kluber pitched against the Seattle Mariners, they realized that this guy's tough when you get ahead of him, and he can put you away in a heartbeat. Because in the first 2 innings, Kluber had 34 pitches, and they swung at 19 of them. But then again, Kluber's around the plate.
Yeah. Swung and missed at a ball in the dirt. Gomes will flip it down to first. 2 away.
Well, come on out and celebrate the 20th anniversary of the 1995 World Series team, which will take place Saturday, June 20th. 12,500 fans will receive a GV Art Design T-shirt. That's courtesy of Pepsi. And there will be a post-game fireworks display also. Get your tickets at Indians.com.
Kyle Seager drew a walk his first time up. A little bit outside. Lined up the middle, and Aviles couldn't leap up and make that catch. 2-out single keeps the inning alive.
He has a cutter, and it's upstairs that right there. He stayed on it nicely and takes it right back up the middle. Seager, a nice job, good swing. That's hit number 5 now for Seattle. They had 2 in the first, 2 in the second, and here a 2-out single in the third.
Seth Smith struck out his first time up, and a swing and a miss. Good. That's that front door sinker, comeback fastball.
12 of 15 first pitch strikes for Kluber.
Well, 33 out of 45. He's just pounding the zone as per usual.
And that's why they are swinging.
Smith steps out. Boy, that didn't miss by a whole bunch. Kluber takes a long look in. Now he's ready from the stretch. He deals. And a liner toward left field. That's in the gap. Rayburn cuts it off, bobbles it into third. Seager will stop as the throw goes all the way to second base. And now Mariners at second and third with 2 down.
That's their third double. And the second time a left-hander, Cano, took them that way. Smith. And even Morrison down the third baseline. The left-hander's trying to stay on the baseball and get something and hit it the other way. Well, they've been successful at this point. Now it looks like it's up to Kluber and Gomes to make an adjustment because they're doing just what they have to. 2 hits in every inning against Kluber here so far.
And Mark Trumbo, who grounded out his first time up, will be the batter. Swung out and missed. Good cut fastball off the plate. And Trumbo chasing after it. Little weak tapper back to the mound. Kluber has it. He'll flip it to first. And the inning is over. No runs, 2 hits, 2 stranded. Middle of the third. Seattle 2, Cleveland 1. A reminder, as you enjoy a cold one, to stay tuned later in the game for Miller Time, brought to you by Miller Lite.
Those boys are ready. Face is painted. They have the shades on. Little tats. They're ready to go. They're saying, come on, Tribe, we need some runs.
Carlos Santana, Michael Brantley, and Ryan Rayburn due up for the Indians. Here in the bottom of the third, Santana a single his first time up. 2 balls, no strikes. Santana had a high pitch and just laced a single right back up the middle his first time in the box tonight. Chops this one over by the dugout. Takes a strike, and the count is even at 2-2. Broke his bat. Miller waits back on it. Throws him out. 1 down. Take a look at the injury report brought to you by the injury lawyers at Elk & Elk. And for the Mariners, James Paxton strained that finger in his start against the Indians out in Seattle. And Iwakuma, that's a big loss for the Mariners because this is one of their top guys.
Yeah, 2 and 3 starter right there coming out. That would hurt any team.
I mean, you talk about Felix Hernandez. He's the guy. He's the ringleader of that rotation. But in Iwakuma, he won 15 games last year, 14 the year before that.
You look at Seattle overall in pitching. They are 4th in the league overall. Their starters are 3rd, and they're missing their number 2 and now number 3 as Brantley gets a base hit.
Brantley's hit in 7 straight games now. 7 out of 25 during his streak. Now Ryan Rayburn, who hit a hard ground ball his first time up to the shortstop, and Brad Miller had to kick off his arm. Never really got his glove on the ball, even though it was right at him. Two and 0. Missed inside. 3 balls, no strikes. In the dirt, ball 4. So how do you like that? A brace hit and then a walk to Rayburn.
4 straight. Now, last time he pitched against the Indians, he had a career season-high 4 walks. You remember his control wasn't there, but that one was on 4 pitches after the base hit. Only his first walk tonight.
What I remember most about his last start is when he was taken out of the game. He was in the dugout by himself, just sort of pacing in circles, just beside himself because he just wasn't able to command the baseball.
Well, it stopped a string of 16 consecutive starts of 3 earned runs or less. So, I mean, he might have been upset there as well because his command wasn't with him.
Nick Swisher flied to center with 2 on and 2 out in the first inning. 2 on, 1 out here in the third. And he looks at a ball down low from Elias. Swisher spent time before the ball game with Ohio State football coach Urban Meyer, who was on hand. Urban's son threw out the first pitch with Urban behind the dish, serving as the catcher. Had Cardell Jones here earlier on the homestand.
Yes, we did.
The 1-0. A strike called to even the count. Upstairs and out of the strike zone, 2-1.
There's Urban.
Chip off the old block,
well,
huh?
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, they were here a couple of years ago when he came up and said hello, and his kid wasn't that big there.
Swisher fouls it out of play.
They're going to be getting it cranked up here real soon, won't they?
Yeah, June's the month for football coaches to sort of chill and hang out because once you get into July, they start to get rolling.
They start making their appearances and have their fun now because pretty soon it's 24/7 lockdown.
2-2. Inside, not by much. Full count.
So far this year, in a full count situation against this guy, hitters are 0 for 16, and he's walked 8 guys in full count situations.
Well, I'm looking up here. He's thrown 44 pitches, just 24 strikes, though. So he's...
Well, that's what I'm saying. You have to be patient enough to take your walk in this situation. Maybe he preys on a lot of aggressiveness on hitters on 3-2 pitches. But those are the numbers. 0 for 16, 8 walks when he's had a full count.
Here's the payoff. Chop to third. Seager to second for 1. On to first, a double play. And the inning is over. No runs ahead, a man left. And after 3, it's Seattle 2, Cleveland 1. Corey Kluber goes to work here in the 4th inning as he continues to pile up numbers. 59 strikeouts, 5 walks or less in a 5-start span.
Very impressive numbers. When you look at the strikeouts to walk ratio, unbelievable. It means you're pounding the strike zone and you also have excellent stuff.
Chop to the Mariners dugout. Brad Miller, a single, a stolen base, and a run scored in the 2nd. That's the difference in the ball game at this point. Out of play. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Kluber's 1-2. Low and a little bit off the plate. Now Corey. 2-2. Rolled to second base. Kipnis will throw him out. 1 down. Time for a Mazda game break. We head to the corner and Al Pulowski.
Hey, man, Rick, let's head to Detroit where the Tigers are taking on the Cubs. Detroit was ahead here 1-0. David Ross, a bid to left center field. Watch Rajai Davis go way over the wall to make the catch and bring it back in. Robs with a home run. Detroit's ahead now 3-0. Bottom of the 4th, Matt.
All right, thanks, Al. Mike Zunino steps in. Popped up on the infield his first time up. Pops one out of play to the right here. To center field, Brantley has it measured and makes the catch. 2 away.
Well, you watch the left-handed hitters there of Seattle, and they have made an adjustment here to Kluber, taking the ball the other way. Pitches away, they're staying on them, and they're trying to go the other way. They're not trying to pull anything, and now it's time, I think, for Corey and Gomes to make an adjustment. They hit some pitches the other way. They made an adjustment, and I'm sure Kluber does. He adjusts very well on the fly. Anytime you see him that first time through where they had 3 hits in that lineup, he'll make an adjustment. Left-hander 6 for 9 today off Kluber, and when you look at it all year long, left-handers hitting .289 coming into the game, right-handers just .221.
Logan Morrison blisters one fouled on the right side. Morrison singled to left in the first, doubled in a run to left in the second. He's not your prototypical leadoff guy at 6'2" and 200 almost 50 pounds. He's 10 stolen bases in 5 big league seasons, but Lloyd McClendon says we make too big a thing out of guys leading off. He goes, heck, I led off at one time.
Well, and you know what? I understand what he's saying. You're right. It's just the slot in the batting order. You lead off once a game, or at least you're going to start the game leading off. But it means more to people sitting around than it does to the players out there.
McClendon says he has the ability to get on base, takes his walks. We're trying to put people on base in front of the big sluggers that they have.
Right.
But he grounds out here. The Indians get him for the first time tonight. Mariners go in order 1-2-3 for the first time. And we head to the bottom of the 4th. Seattle ahead 2-1. 2-1 Seattle as we check out our T-Mobile game changer. Jason Kipnis 0 for 2 on the night, but he has hit an 18 straight at home.
Well, that's a nice run right there, a nice streak. Second longest in this ballpark. That's his streak, but over 400 on the year. So he's loved hitting in his home ballpark. One thing the Indians are trying to turn around is their home record. They've been able to do pretty well. They've done much better on the road than they have at home. 3 over the 500 mark on the road and 5 under here at home.
Upstairs.
Yeah, first pitch strikes just 4 of 15. But the Indians haven't been able to take advantage of them because they're, after the 1-0 count, they're only 2 for 9. When you get into that situation, a lot of times hitters have a much better batting average when they get the count in their favor, 1-0. So far, it hasn't translated out that way for the Indians offense yet.
2-1, and Gomes fouling it back. That'll even the count up. Remember when we were in Seattle, the Mariners threw 4 left-handed starters.
That's right.
In that series. Swung out and missed. Gomes goes down, and that's the third strikeout for Elias. Don't forget to tune over to Fox Sports Ohio after the game tonight for coverage of Game 3 of the NBA Finals. Swinging a foul back by Moss. They'll have all the analysis and highlights after Game 3, and it's on Fox Sports Ohio. I think I'm thinking of the Chicago series. They threw all left-handed starters at the Indians. But the Mariners...
Well, they had Paxton, they had Elias.
Taijuan Walker started one of those games,
right.
though. In a left field, that's going to drop for a hit. And Brandon Moss is aboard with a one-out single here in the fourth. So the Indians have had a base runner in every inning here tonight. Here's our player profile brought to you by Levin Furniture. Giovanni Urshela out of Columbia. Last year between AA and AAA. One of the top-ranked prospects in the organization. Checks on a ball in the dirt. Urshela was robbed of a hit his first time up by Robinson Cano. Made a terrific play. Popped him up on the infield. Cano, the second baseman, makes the catch. 2 down. Urshela back to the dugout. That will bring up Mike Aviles, who singled his first time up. And right at Miller, the shortstop, who flips it to end the inning. No runs ahead, a man left. We've played 4, Seattle 2, Cleveland 1. Your Northern Ohio Honda dealers. By the Cleveland Clinic. Call for an appointment today. And by the game-changing all-new Ford F-150. The future is tough. 2-1 our score as we head to the 5th inning. For Seattle, 2, 3, 4 hitters due up. Austin Jackson, Robinson Cano, and Nelson Cruz. Jackson is 0 for 2, but scored a run in the first when he reached on a fielder's choice. Little nubber. Kluber, bare hand grabbing the flip for out number 1.
You like that. 1 pitch, 1 out, and an easy one at that.
Take a look at the American League All-Star Game balloting.
It's awfully blue, isn't
Who are those guys in the blue hats? They're everywhere. That's what happens when you go to the World Series, huh?
How about that? That is crazy. 1 red and they're all blue except for Mr. Altuve at second.
Trout and Altuve. They're going to be looking around going, who are these guys? You still have time to vote, obviously. Log on to Indians.com, MLB.com. Robinson Cano, an RBI double in the first. He lined out to Kipnis in the 3rd inning. Seattle took extra batting practice this afternoon here at Progressive Field. Trying to work their way out of their offensive woes. Lloyd McClendon said, look, there's a lot of guys that have not been swinging the bat well for our team. He said, we're a talented offensive club. We're not Murderers Row. But he said, I learned this a long time ago, and I know you know this. You're never as bad as you think you are, and you're never as good as you think you are. You're somewhere in the middle, because we're still trying to find that happy medium.
Well,
Cano's found it twice tonight.
And another left-handed double going the other way. That's 4 tonight. And Cano has 2 of them. And that's the guy. That right there is the one you got to get going. He's not a 239 hitter. They're paying him all the money. That ball was elevated, an easy pitch for him to take the other way. But if this guy doesn't hit, I mean, Cruz was having an outstanding April. You've got, I mean, it's a team effort there. The big boys that you're paying the money to do the damage and expect you to hit, they have to do it. And then your other guys have to pitch in. It's really pretty simple, but I agree with him. You're never as bad as you look. You're never as good as you think.
Nelson Cruz is 0 for 2 today. Struck out his last time up. Takes down low ball 1. Now, McClendon said this to the reporters before the game. Maybe this was lip service. Maybe there's something more to it. See what you think. He said, I think we're close to coming out of it because, A, we're grinding at bats out and we're getting deep counts. We're not getting the results, but he said, I think that's the first sign of coming out of it.
Well, how many times and how many managers, hey, look, you don't get results overnight offensively. It's a growing thing. It's positive momentum every day. You may not get hits. You may not drive in the run that day, but there's got to be something positive you take out of it to build for the next day. And then you don't do it overnight. Yeah. It may take 5 days. It may take, a road trip. It takes time to get you rolling. That's why this game is so darn long. But once you get it clicking and you get everybody firing on all cylinders, it's a lot of fun.
Everybody wants a 4 for 4 to say, okay, I'm out of it.
Yeah.
Doesn't happen that way.
No, it doesn't happen that way. You know what? Sometimes you can have an at-bat where you make an out, but you have an 8 or a 9 or a 10-pitch at-bat where you battle a pitcher and you feel better about yourself. The next day you build on that. It doesn't always translate into hits or home runs that all the kids watch nowadays. They say, oh, I hit a game-winning home run. Everything's great. Well, you struggle in this game a lot. When you're good and you hit 300, you're still failing 70% of the time.
And that's what separates the guys who stay from those who flame out is how you handle that 70% of the time.
Yeah, you've got to shorten that time every year or try to.
Cruz fouls off the 2-2 pitch.
There's always a way in baseball, though, if you're an everyday player, that you can help your ball club win some way. Whether it's defensively, whether it's moving a base runner, whether it's stealing a base. There's a number of different ways.
Lloyd McClendon and the Seattle trainer coming out to check out Cruz. I didn't notice anything, but they saw something on that last foul ball. And so they're going to come out and at least give a little look-see.
Well, maybe they know. They're taking him out.
Well, you're right, Rick. He's headed to the dugout.
Not even close.
Right now.
They knew something before the game even started about Cruz.
I think that's Rob Nodine, the assistant athletic trainer who came out with McClendon. Did you notice anything?
No, I did not. There's a slider down in the way. He fouls it off the top, and look at. No, it has to be something that they knew before the game. It was tender. It's sore. I don't know if it's a back. Who knows? I'm not going to speculate. It's just. They noticed it. You see, he's stretching something out there. I don't know if it's a back issue or not, but he's out of there. I know that. It didn't take him long.
No, I mean, they spotted it right away
he
because McClendon came out, and there was no lengthy discussion or opportunity to stay in the game for Cruz.
Right. He was not going to talk his way in. Who's this, Ackley, coming up?
Yeah, Dustin Ackley.
Yeah, because Cruz playing right field tonight. I wonder if they'll move Ackley to left and put Smith back into right. We'll see. That had to be something known before the game. That's all there is to it, or something that's been bothering him for a little while.
Well, remember, Seattle flew here yesterday on the off day from Seattle, so it's a long flight here.
Those guys have the worst travel in all of baseball. They travel on every off day they get. They have to leave on the off day. And they only had to fly a 5-hour flight.
So Ackley stands in with a 2-ball, 2-strike count. And he checks on a ball that was inside, and now a full count.
It's like playing in Little League. Okay, now you're starting with a full count. Go ahead.
Yeah.
You've got one swing or you've got one ball. Let's go. Sudden death.
Cano at second base with 1 out. And the payoff pitch popped out of play. Ackley has been swinging the bat better of late. He's 5 hits in his last 14 at-bats, covering his last 6 games. And he'll draw a walk.
I'll tell you what, he did a nice job. The 3 pitches he saw. Takes a trot down to first base.
It's going to bring up Kyle Seager, who has walked and singled in the ballgame. Second walk issued by Kluber. He does not give out many of those. I was going to say getting a walk from Corey Kluber like getting a raise from Gabe Paul, maybe. All the stories I've heard over the years in fantasy camp.
I saw you chuckling over there. I wondered what was going through your mind.
Somewhere Gary Bell is laughing right now.
Yes, if he's watching this game, he is laughing. He says, "You're darn right."
Kyle Seager takes a look at ball 1.
Oh, boy. Getting a walk-off Kluber is like getting a raise from Gabe Paul. That's beautiful.
Ackley still stretching, getting himself acclimated after he came out in the middle of the at-bat for Nelson Cruz. It was a 2-2 count when he comes into the at-bat. 3 pitches, he draws the walk. He gets credit for a walk in his column. Had he struck out, I think it would have gone to Cruz on the strikeout.
With 2 strikes, so it was no lose situation. But anyway, he gets credit with the walk. You're right.
2-0. Outside. 3 balls, no strikes.
Well, they are certainly faring much better this time around off Kluber than they did the last time, and it was 2 home runs that made it.
3-0 swing by Seager, but it's foul.
You know what? Why not? You don't want to spot this guy, especially when you're as good a hitter as Seager is. If he likes it, let him get after it, especially when you're struggling to score runs, one of your better hitters.
Yeah, he's one of the guys they're counting on with 9 homers so far this year.
You trust him. You keyhole it. If you like that pitch, get after it. Now your big bopper's not in the lineup anymore, too.
Yeah. Kluber's 3-1. Right there, full count.
He tried to drop the bat and get a walk, but that's not going to fly. Dale Scott says that's a strike.
Gomes asks for time. Key pitch coming up here. With 2 on, 1 out. Indians down a run. But the Mariners threatening here in the 5th. Kluber just about to make his 80th pitch on the night. Wow. Kluber. I mean, this guy never shows emotion. He went to hands on knees in a fit of exasperation for why Dale Scott did not call that pitch a strike.
Well, you look, and it's down.
That is right there.
He thought he had it at the knees.
And that's going to bring Mickey Callaway out of the dugout because he's probably never seen that before. That's right over the plate. That's above the knees on that side angle. And Dale Scott just flat out missed one. And it's a key miss for Kluber because now, instead of 2 outs with runners at first and second, the bases are loaded and only 1 out. And he's walked back-to-back hitters for probably the first time in his life.
Well, it's the first time I can remember he's walked back-to-back guys.
Big swinging Seth Smith is coming up.
See if Mickey wants to ask him where was that pitch. You know, he wants to do. I don't know if he. A lot of times that pitching coach will wait if they thought they missed one. Season high 3 walks for Kluber right now. And 2 of them back to back. You're right. You don't see that. So now if you're Seth Smith, what do? You get ready for that first fastball, don't you?
I hate to say it, but yeah.
Yeah, I would.
If I was
pitch.
him. In the dirt.
And he didn't get one, did he? That looked like a cutter.
Yeah.
It's okay. When you're the hitter, you say, okay, well, he didn't throw me the fastball, but he missed with it. So now I'm in a good shape. Yeah, Seattle looking to add on here. A 2-1 lead. Top of the 5th. There it is. Came back with it again. Cutter.
Kluber's 1-1 pitch in the dirt. Mariners everywhere you look with Cano, Ackley, and Seager. Ackley came on in the middle of the Nelson Cruz at bat, and he left with some type of an injury.
Kluber would love a double play ball right here.
There it is. Thank you, Karnak. And the inning is over. Or is it Kreskin?
Kreskin. Karnak Donnie.
Our great clip of the game from Sunday. Jason Kipnis with another good afternoon. 3 straight hits, couple of doubles and a run scored.
Just another 3-hit game for Kipnis this year. It doesn't surprise you anymore because he's done it so many times throughout the month of May.
9 times this year, most in the league. Dustin Ackley now in left field, and Seth Smith goes over to right. Smith had been in left. Jason Kipnis 0 for 2 tonight. Pitch outside. And a foul right back.
Well, all the hits off of Elias today have come from the full windup. They're 0 for 7 when he's out of the stretch.
1-2 the count. Out of play. Stays 1-2. Indians have had at least a hit in every inning tonight, but the only run coming on the solo homer by Yan Gomes to lead off the second inning. Of the Indians' 50 home runs this year, 19 of them have led off an inning, like the one Gomes hit. Weekly tap to second base. Cano will throw him out, 1 down. Nelson Cruz left the game with an apparent injury. Let's get on to Andre Knott, who has the very latest.
The injury is back spasms, guys, and it just makes you curious. You know, we've watched Michael Brantley deal with back problems throughout the season. Cruz is going on 46 at-bats with no homers, that you mentioned a little bit earlier. You wonder how long his back has been bothering him before tonight and getting pulled out of the game.
Well, that's the problem with back spasms is that you never know when they're just going to grab and literally lock you up. You might be able to fight your way through it and play, and then all of a sudden it might be a twist, a movement, and all of a sudden you just can't move.
Anybody that's had back issues at all, you know, just walking around the house sometimes can be difficult, let alone trying to play a Major League Baseball game when you're swinging the bat. And you're swinging it with authority. He's playing right field. You have to run on it. I'll tell you what, it's difficult. So you don't take chances because, as you say, you protect them now, maybe miss a game or two instead of missing a week or two down the road.
Santana with a fly ball to center field. And a routine play for Jackson, 2 down.
Well, the Tribe will open up a 3-game series against Tampa Bay. That'll take place next Friday when we return home off this road trip. And you can save on tickets. You buy lower reserved or lower box by June 15th. And get this, 21% this time you're going to save. It's another fireworks show, so check it out at Indians.com.
Michael Brantley singled his last time up. Ropes it foul, right side. Tigers might be coming out of their funk at home in the 5th inning. They've already pounded out 10 hits, and they lead the Cubs 5-0. Kansas City in front of Minnesota 1-0. They're in the 3rd at Target Field. Just off the plate. Here it's 2-1 Seattle, with the Indians batting in the 5th, 2 down. Big bouncer to Cano. And the Indians are retired in order for the first time tonight. We've played 5. It's still Seattle 2, Cleveland 1. 2-1 Seattle as we go to the 6th inning. Mark Trumbo going to lead it off for the Mariners. Let's go down to Andre.
You know, the Mariners brought in Mark Trumbo for the main reason is they need more balance in their lineup, and they felt like, as we've talked about throughout tonight, they have not scored a lot of runs over the first month and a half, 2 months of the season, and they felt like he was a guy that could help this offense from the right side. And in their ballpark, Dustin Ackley hasn't done a lot in left field. They feel like they need more power. He's a guy that can supply that, and they remember how good he was when he was last in the AL West.
Well, they played against Seattle many times when he was with the Angels, so he proved to them he was a good hitter. And you're right, Ackley, the left-handed hitter who was on the bench tonight, has struggled this year.
Well, look, he's hit 9 home runs so far this year, all in the National League. They didn't pay an enormous price. They did give up a couple of prospects.
Right.
But they weren't top front-of-the-line blue-chip type guys.
No, by no means. You know, for any player, too, when you get traded towards the middle part of the season, which, June, at least over a third of the way in, it's not easy just picking up and going to another team, and they're bringing you in for a reason. You're like a hired gun.
Mm-hmm.
It's not an easy way to play the game. You weren't there. You didn't spend any spring trainings. You may know the guys from afar, but, you got to get into the culture and, be a part of it.
I mean, unless you're one of the elite superstars in the game, I would imagine everybody's looking at you going, well, what makes you so special?
Well, yeah.
Why'd we trade for you?
Right. Well, you're entering a new family.
There's a little bit better prove yourself to me.
Right.
Kind of.
Well, especially guys you're going in there for because other people have struggled. So management feels, hey, look, we got to do something with this team. We're supposed to win this year, and we're not doing it. So, you bring in a veteran guy like Trumbo, but it's on his shoulders and his back, and he's the one that has to produce. I'm sure he will once he gets comfortable over there. And I know that man wants him to hit a few bombs for him.
Another close pitch, but Kluber not getting many of the close ones, it seems, so far here tonight. To third, Giovanni Urshela throws him out with a perfect throw across the diamond one way. Our in-game recap brought to you by your local Toyota dealers. Robinson Cano with an RBI double in the first, plating Austin Jackson. Then in the second, it was a Logan Morrison double just inside the bag with 2 outs, made it 2-0. Bottom of the second, Indians come right back on a Yan Gomes solo blast. And that has been it. Now into the 6th inning with 1 out, Brad Miller, the batter. Miller scored ahead of the Morrison 2-out double in the second. That is the difference in the game still. One on one account. Kluber has had 1-2-3 inning, and at that point was in the middle of a stretch in which he retired a game high 5 in a row. But the Mariners have been aggressive. And they've banged out 7 hits. They've had 3 walks. So they've had plenty of traffic tonight, but just the 2 runs on the board so far. Seattle, as we mentioned before, is in the middle of not in the middle, they're in a stretch, 12 straight games where they've scored 3 runs or less.
Well, I can tell you one thing right now from watching them swing here tonight and watching the game that Kluber pitched against them the last time when we were in Seattle. They are putting up better at-bats. They are fouling off pitches. They are trying to manufacture runs. They have 4 doubles the other way. They put the ball in play. They scored their 2 runs without hitting a home run. So they are much better than where they were, I'd say, a week and a half, almost 2 weeks ago. So maybe the good sign is if they can get out of here after these next 2 days, they can get as hot as they want because we'll never see them again. Yeah. So go ahead and get hot, Lloyd. We'd like to see it after Thursday. See, they're falling off some tough pitches that they were swinging and missing. Kluber had 13 strikeouts in that game. He has 2 tonight, and he's at 98 pitches.
The 2-2. And another foul by Miller. This streak for Seattle of scoring 3 runs or less in each of their last 12 games is tied for the longest streak in Mariners history. They did it back in 1988 as well. And the last team in baseball to go through a stretch like this was the Philadelphia Phillies in 2010. 2-2 pitch. Got him looking. Outside corner, and Miller can't believe it. 3rd strikeout for Kluber tonight. 2 down in the inning. He put up a heck of an at-bat, but in the end, he couldn't pull the trigger on this baby.
Well, you see him come backdoor with the slider. That's going to be our Circle K strikeout at the backdoor slider. Miller didn't like the call. And, it's just a tough pitch because you a lot of times you give up on it. But then again, Kluber has that other pitch at the front door, as you call it, the sinker that comes in. He starts at your hip, but he hasn't really had that tonight. At least we haven't seen it.
2 down for Mike Zunino, who is 0 for 2. Kind of hard to believe, isn't it, that the Phillies back in 2010 could go 12 straight games scoring 3 runs or less?
Yeah.
Especially you figure some of those games had to be in their park.
In their park, maybe injuries, who knows? It's hard to believe any team can do that at the major league level. And what happens? And then you start thinking about it, and you start pressing, you start doing too much, and you start thinking, oh, I have to do it, or every time you get up to the plate. So
in there for a strike, 1-2. Grounded towards 3rd. Urshela has it. Santana applies the tag, and the inning is over. The Mariners go 1-2-3 for the 2nd time tonight.
Well, grab some friends and catch a game at the new Corner Bar. Open to all fans of Progressive Field. $13 district tickets. Presented by Sports Time Ohio. They're going quickly. Get yours at Indians.com.
Ryan Rayburn will lead off the bottom of the 6th here for the Tribe. He's reached on an error and he has walked tonight. Takes a strike. Low and away.
Elias has pitched a nice game. Kept him, made the one pitch to Gomes that he hit out of the ballpark. And other than that, it's just been 4 singles for the Indians. 1 in the first, 1 in the second, 1 in the third, and 1 in the fourth. He had his first 1, 2, 3. Coming off a good start against Tampa where he went 8 innings. Only allowed 2 runs and gave up 5 hits.
Up and away. And a leadoff walk for the Indians. The only other time the Indians' leadoff man reached tonight was when Yan Gomes hit the homer to lead off the 2nd inning. Let's go down to Andre Knott. We've been wondering about Josh Tomlin, who's obviously a talented starter for the Indians. We see him down there in the dugout, but he's coming back from shoulder surgery this time around. How's he doing?
He's doing really good. He told me with a big smile on his face after he cut off that beautiful hair he had. You know, I'm jealous of that. He's going to throw a bullpen here at Progressive Field tomorrow. Then he'll get on a plane and head to Goodyear, Arizona, and start making his way back to this team. He told me Goodyear can be very lonely in the month of June, but that's what he wants right now. So Josh Tomlin getting much closer to being able to help out the big club as soon as he can get back to Arizona.
I thought maybe he would have donated some of that hair to you.
I would love to wear some of that hair.
Oh, man.
Tito said he's the ugliest guy bald he's ever met.
Hey, Goodyear in June. You ought to go out and meet with some of those Gila monsters out there.
Yeah, when everybody, is here and playing, I think it can be a tough place to be. Fly ball to right, out number 1, Swisher retired. Yan Gomes homered in the 2nd, struck out his last time up. Gomes checks on a ball down and in.
Pat Murray, you're doing it next. Shave your head. No, don't come over. Shave it.
Elias with a little quick throw over to first, but Rayburn not far off the bag. The 1-0, and that's up and away. 2 balls, no strikes. Elias has the ability to just tease the hitter. 43 of 79 pitches for strikes, so that tells you almost every other pitch is out of the strike zone. And he's fallen behind Gomes 3-0 after he walked Rayburn to start the inning. Brandon Moss waiting on deck.
Well, he's had 6-2-0 counts on Indians hitters, and Indians hitters just 1 for 6 with a walk.
And that was just above the belt. And called a strike.
Yeah, that's not what Gomes wanted. Gomes homered earlier on a pitch down in the zone that he likes, giving us some swinging room. That's how the Indians are on the board right there. Solo home run by Yan Gomes, his first.
To right field, and Smith grabs it, 2 away. That'll bring up Brandon Moss. And that's kind of the theme of the night. He falls behind. He's maybe on the verge of walking himself into trouble, but he gets the out and he gets what he needs.
Absolutely. Well, he's been able to do it. You're right.
I suppose in the dugout that makes it a very frustrating night for the hitters because you feel like you're on the verge every inning all night long of just about ready to get him, and then the inning's over.
Well, the next thing they've had some counts to hit in, but you can call it, I don't know, maybe effectively wild.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I know exactly
he's around the
saying,
strike zone, but you can't sit in one spot because he is all over. But when he needs to, he's making his pitches.
Moss to center field, and Jackson runs it down. Leadoff walk does no damage. We've played 6. It stays 2-1 Seattle. Kia. Visit mykiacleveland.com to learn more. By Levin Mattress, located in all Levin furniture and freestanding locations. And by AT&T UVerse, has more channels on the go than cable. Two-1, the Mariners lead it. Lloyd McClendon giving Elias a little tap. I assume that means his night's over.
Yeah, it is. A catcher comes over and hugs you, you're done.
That's new one in baseball. You get a hug, you're done.
Yep.
A hug means you're done.
Means thanks for coming. You can go home now.
Squaring the bunt, Logan Morrison, but Kluber's right there to grab it. And they retire him to lead off this 7th inning. AT&T UVerse rewind. This 5th inning looked like it might be disastrous. Close pitch, called a ball. Kluber rarely, if ever, shows any kind of emotion like that. So bases loaded, 1 out.
It falls behind in the count. But what's he do? 4-6-3.
Right after you had called for it.
Well, he just made his pitch. You know, you get a guy, he was counting in his favor, but he got him to roll over on it, and he's unflappable.
And Austin Jackson 0 for 3 tonight, taking a strike. Breaking ball misses down and in.
Nice pitch. Tied him up there inside. Good fastball.
Just a little bit low.
Wow, did you see Gomes get ready to throw that ball to third base?
There's been a few of those tonight.
Well, he looked like he was going to throw it like he had it. Little slider down, and what happens? Nope, he didn't get the call. Not calling a low strike.
Swung out and missed. He takes care of it himself. 2 down, 4th strikeout for Kluber.
There, he brought it up a little bit and said, hit it. Couldn't do it.
Cano taking all the way. It's in there for a strike. Slowly chopped up the middle. Right there to grab it is Aviles. And on 8 pitches, Corey Kluber sets him down 1-2-3, and he has retired 7 Mariners in a row. Time now for the 7th inning stretch, brought to you by Spitzer Auto World. Time now for the Cleveland Clinic call to the bullpen. Big right-hander Tom Wilhelmsen coming on for Seattle after Roenis Elias went 6 innings and gave up just 1 run on 5 hits, walked 2, struck out 3. Lone run for the Indians coming on the home run by Yan Gomes. So here in the 7th inning, Wilhelmsen will be facing Giovanni Urshela, Mike Aviles, and Jason Kipnis. Urshela pops it up. Shallow center. In comes Jackson. 1 pitch, 1 out. An American tradition is coming to Fox and Fox Sports 1 for the first time. In the Pacific Northwest, it's the 115th U.S. Open Championship live from Chambers Bay. June 18th on Fox Sports 1, Fox, and streaming live on Fox Sports Go. A little bit outside to Mike Cavillas, who is 1 for 2 on the day. And a fastball fouled off to the right. Oh, little half swing. And on one hop, Cano is there to field it and just barely got Aviles. 2 down.
That's one where you say, oops, I didn't really mean to swing at that. You get started and he couldn't hold up. So Wilhelmsen comes out, watch. He starts and, I didn't want to do that. So you put your head down, you run hard, you make it close.
Tom Wilhelmsen retires the 2 right-handed batters.
He did his job.
But now Lloyd McClellan wants a lefty to face Jason Kipnis in a 1-run game here in the 7th inning. Two-1, Seattle in front. 2 down in the 7th inning. Bases empty. Jason Kipnis, the batter, and left-hander Vidal Nuno coming on now for Seattle. He came from the Diamondbacks along with Mark Trumbo in that trade on June the 3rd. Obviously a left-hander. Out of the bullpen was always somebody that a manager likes to have, an extra left-hander to use in matchup situations.
Well, they already have a righty up throwing behind Nuno here, so that's if it works.
Yeah.
You know, if it works, you get your out, you say, boy, that was nice.
Kipnis, a liner to center field and a base hit.
Didn't work.
So a 2-out single will keep the inning moving along.
Well, the hitting streak, keep it going. 19. Tied with Michael Brantley, who did it last year. How about that? 19 games at home. That's beautiful.
Vidal Nuno will now face Carlos Santana, who is 1 for 3 on the day. And he pops the first pitch up on the infield. 7 in the books. It remains Seattle 2, Cleveland 1. and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cleveland Indians. Stay tuned for Indians Live, presented by Conrad's Tire Express and Total Car Care, coming up next here on Sports Time Ohio. Right now we go to the 8th inning. Nick Hagedorn will come on to pitch for Cleveland. Corey Kluber went 7. And right now he's on the hook for a loss unless the Indians can do something offensively to help him out. He allowed 2 runs, and once again, a lack of offensive support. Nothing new this year for Kluber. Dustin Ackley, he came on in the middle of a Nelson Cruz at bat in the 5th inning. Cruz left with back spasms after he fouled a pitch off. It was a 2-2 count when Ackley came on. He ended up drawing a walk. Taking all the way, ball 3. Seven hits in his last 35 at bats.
Four straight.
So leadoff walk for Seattle, and it's going to bring up Kyle Seager. Kyle Seager, a single and 2 walks on the night. But that was against Kluber. Now you got the lefty-lefty matchup. And it's ball 1. Well, that's 5 straight.
Yeah, I mean, with all fastballs. Gomes going to go out and have a quick chat. You got to come out throwing strikes.
There's a fastball in there for strike 1. Seager batting .311 in his last 24 games, so he has been on a pretty good roll. Rips this one to right field, down all the way into the corner. Ackley into third. Rich Donnelly throws up the stop sign, and he'll hold there. Second and third with nobody out here in the 8th now, as Seattle has a chance to open up their 1-run lead.
Well, that's their 5th double today, Matt. The first one that a left-hander has pulled. Of course, this is Hagedorn in there, and then when they have the count in their favor, they sit on one pitch. They get the fastball, and he drilled it down into the corner. For Seager, that's his 13th double, and they have the table set now. Second and third, nobody out. So the Indians are bringing their infield in, trying to cut off the run at home plate.
Seth Smith, the batter, 1 for 3, doubled in the 3rd. And he hammers one into right field for a base hit. 1 run will score. Seager stops at third. 3-1 Mariners. All 3 have reached against the left-hander Hagedorn.
Well, after you walk the guy on 4 pitches, and it's all fastballs, he hasn't thrown anything off speed yet. So Seattle coming out here, and they are scoring by manufacturing runs. And Hagedorn comes in, and he's done. So he faces 3 hitters and did not retire a batter, and they scored a run, and they still have runners at the corners.
I believe it's Ryan Webb who's coming on next for the Tribe, down 3-1 here in the 8th. It was not Ryan Webb, but it was Zach McAllister who was called out of the Indians bullpen after Nick Hagedorn walked the leadoff man and gave up a double and an RBI single to the next 2 hitters. McAllister to face Mark Trumbo with 2 on and nobody out here in the 8th.
Yeah, you're coming on with some traffic. I'll tell you, you'd like to get a pop-up or a strikeout and a double play. That'd be ideally, because the infield, let's see where they're going to play up the middle. At the corners, they're going to be even with the bag. Of course, Santana has to hold Smith on at first base.
Mark Trumbo digs in. McAllister fires, and it's low, ball 1. Couple of no-hit games going on right now. Kansas City is no-hitting Minnesota. They're only in the 5th. But San Francisco, Chris Heston is no-hitting the Mets through 8.
Wow. Through 8.
Yeah, how about that for a rookie?
3, yeah, just go figure. It's the Giants.
One pop back out of play. Albert Pujols tied Mickey Mantle for 16th on the all-time home run list with his 536th home run. Line to second. It's caught by Kipnis. Just snared it in the webbing of his glove for out number 1.
It's really a pretty good at-bat there by Trumbo. He stayed on that 2-strike pitch and lined it to second base, but right into the tracks of Kipnis. Now the middle infielders can drop back and turn a double play. You can see Kip had to jump up, makes the catch. Unfortunately, the base runners did their thing. They didn't move.
A little tougher play when you're playing halfway in. If you're back on the outfield grass, that's kind of a routine liner.
If you're in position, right. But you would think it didn't give the base runners time to get off the bag to where you might get a double play.
Brad Miller, 1 for 3 on the night, is the batter. Miller singled and scored in the second. He's grounded out, struck out since then. Miller takes, it's ball 1. There's a pitch in for a strike. Out of play. McAllister taking a long time, the 1-2. Mark Zubczynski getting loose for Cleveland. Right at the shortstop. Avila steps on second, throws to first. Double play. Terrific job by Zach McAllister. He gets a line out and then a ground ball double play. But the Mariners add a run. Middle of the 8th, 3-1 Seattle. Bottom of the 8th inning. And as we promised earlier, it's Miller time, brought to you by Miller Lite. Let's flash it back to 1995 ALCS. Wild pitch or pass ball off the glove. Run scores from third, but look who's right on his heels. Here comes Kenny Lofton.
How about that? Remember that.
That's when you knew it was over. World Series, here we come. Now for a little perspective. The man leading off this inning for the Indians is Michael Brantley. He was 8 years old on the night of that game in Seattle.
Okay, very good. 8 years old. Well, Charlie Furbush coming on for the 24th time. 22 out of his 23 appearances have been scoreless. So he has been unhittable. 122 opponent batting average. It's been very good this year. Brantley, Rayburn, Swisher, the scheduled hitters.
Trying to butt his way aboard. Drag bunt. Furbush goes with the glove flip. In time, says first base umpire Dan Isanya.
Right. They'll take their time. They'll get a quick look at this and look at the replay and see if it's worth a challenge.
If he got him, it's a heck of a play by Furbush.
It is, but that glove, I mean, when he flipped it out of the glove mat, you don't get a lot of speed on there. And I'll tell you what, they may have a legitimate challenge here because I don't know if they got it.
You might as well. You got nothing to lose now. It's the eighth inning.
Look at it throws the changeup.
Safe.
Well, let's wait and see where that foot is and where the glove is. They're going to get a look at it. We will find out. Let's get a couple angles.
Woo! Wow.
You know what? Again,
from that angle, it looks a lot closer. I thought on the first angle it looked like he was safe.
Yeah, you know what you're going to get? Not enough evidence to overturn it.
Whew.
It was bang, bang, but when that pitcher flips it out of the glove, it's almost like a slow motion. Watch.
Here we go.
You don't get it on. He made a nice play to get over there.
About the only way we're going to be able to tell if we can freeze it.
Yeah, they will be freezing it. Furbush came off and made a nice play toward the first baseline.
Dan Isanya on your right, who made the call. Crew chief Dale Scott on your left. Indians down 3-1. Let's see if we get any clarity on the freeze. Not really.
Well,
I mean, the ball's in the glove on that freeze frame.
Yeah.
Man.
Hard to tell. They're going to be there for a while.
I don't think they're going to get it overturned.
Not enough evidence. I agree with you. From what we've seen recently, it's been that way. If you can't really tell.
If I had to guess at this point, it would probably be we're going to see a call stands outcome. Let's see here. Boy, it's
like bang bang. And I mean, the initial call that Isanya has is, he gets one look at it. It's full speed, and he called them out. That's what he saw, and I'll tell you what, he's not wrong. And if he called them safe, I'll tell you what, he's not wrong either.
Exactly right, Rick.
You know what I mean?
If the call on the field is safe, you'd have a tough time getting it overturned either way.
And you know what? Either way, on your challenge, it would be tough. It's just a matter of the call on the field. That's all you can tell. So, I just kind of
you
got to live with it, whatever.
I just think, given the situation, I think it's a good challenge by Terry Francona.
I do too.
I'm sure Greg Langben gave him the information he had, which is, I'm sure he told him it's close. It's really close. It's going to be tough.
As we said, it doesn't matter. We can look at it every angle, and we are looking at every angle we have. And you call them out, good call. You call them safe. It's a good call. So they are taking a while to look at this one because it is not an easy one.
And it's such a pivotal call because...
Well, it'd be a great start for the Indians.
Exactly. You get your leadoff man aboard to start the inning.
Tying run comes to the plate. But any way you look at it, it's a big call.
Here we go.
For either team. He's out. Yeah, call stands.
Yeah, call stands. Just too close. Just not enough there to really get anything overturned. about as close a call as we've seen all season long as far as being right. Look at the replay angles. I mean, it's flip a coin either way.
I know it. That's
Ryan Rayburn reached on an error in the first, has walked twice since then. He checks, it's low. 2 balls, no strikes. Rayburn trying to spark a rally for the Indians here in the 8th. Chops it foul, 2-1. Oh, Mike Aviles with the good hands, end of the dugout. Down low, 3 balls and a strike. Nick Swisher waits on deck. Right-hander up in the Seattle pen. And Rayburn taking a called strike. The count is full. And the payoff pitch. Hit foul. Not by much either. Just by the bag.
Well, he shot it down the third baseline. You'll get a good look at it here. It hit fair, but boy, that hop on it really. He got the barrel head of the bat off front and had that spin that it jumped about 3 feet. Foul after as soon as it hit the dirt.
And the payoff. Drilled to center, but right at Jackson. 2 down. Baseball Night in America returns to Fox on Saturday with an AL East matchup between the New York Yankees and the Baltimore Orioles. Coverage begins Saturday at 7 Eastern only on Fox. With 2 down, the batter will be Nick Swisher. Swisher 0 for 3. He's flied out twice, hit into a double play back in the third. And the first pitch popped back above our head. No balls, 2 strikes. Mark Lowe ready in the Seattle pen, if needed. Fernando Rodney, you see sprawled out behind him. More than likely would see him in the 9th. The set and the 0-2 pitch. Off the glove. And the 1-2 pitch is down and in. Almost got him on the foot. Charlie Furbush has worked scoreless baseball 22 out of the 23 times he's pitched. Boy, how big was that first hitter of the inning, though?
Yeah, well, you get that leadoff man aboard, anything can happen, and it was awfully close. Bang, bang. Makes a big difference.
In the hole, Seager able to glove it and throw him out to end the inning. The Indians go 1-2-3, and Seager made a nice stop defensively to keep the Tribe from getting a man on base here in the 8th. Ninth inning. And let's look back at our keys to the game, brought to you by Wayside Furniture. Indians have not scored a bunch. Neither one of these teams has done much offensively. But so far, Seattle has done just enough to have the lead. Mike Zunino to lead off. He's 0 for 3 on the night. Hit the third. Giovanni Urshela is able to stop it and throw him out. One away. Time for a Mazda game break. Let's head to Al.
Hey, Matt, history tonight in New York for San Francisco. Chris Heston, the rookie, throws the Giants' 17th no-hitter, his first in his career. He didn't walk a batter tonight. He hit 3, but San Francisco a winner 5-0. Chris Heston, a no-hitter. Matt?
Didn't walk a guy, but ended up hitting 3. How about that? And that's the 4th straight year that a Giants pitcher has thrown a no-hitter. That's amazing. In its own right, huh? 4 straight? Unbelievable.
That's amazing.
It really is.
Pitch down and in to Logan Morrison, who is 2 for 4 tonight. He singled in the first, doubled in a run in the second, grounded out twice since then. Indians down 3-1. And in the bottom of the ninth, they're looking at the 6, 7, 8 hitters, Gomes, Moss, and Urshela. The 2-2 from McAllister. And now a full count. Hit right at second baseman Jason Kipnis. And he'll throw out Morrison. 2 down. Indians Live, presented by Conrad's Tire Express and Total Car Care, coming up next here on Sports Time Ohio. Chris Young has taken his no-hitter through 6 innings against the Minnesota Twins.
How about that guy, Chris Young? He was pitching for this Seattle team last year. Signed late in the spring this year by Kansas City.
Jackson flinched. It's a called strike, 0-2.
Indians able to beat Young the last time they faced him.
Up and away. Carson Smith up in the Seattle bullpen. He is the closer for now for Seattle. Fernando Rodney has had some issues. Talked about it when we were in Seattle. And Lloyd McClendon said that right now he's going to try to work Rodney back in some situations. He said basically, look, when the pitching coach, which is Rick Waits, when he comes to me and says his mechanical issues are ironed out, then we're going to put him back in the roles.
Well, he's got to work his way back. It's plain and simple. You're not doing the job, or it's. I mean, he's getting saves, but boy, tough saves. But the bottom line is you get saves.
But it's interesting. I mean, we were just there in Seattle a week and a half ago, about 12 days ago. And what did McClendon say at that time? He was committed. He's my guy. Even though it's not pretty, he gets the job done. Well,
right.
Gave up another leadoff homer recently against Tampa in the 9th inning in a tie game. Maybe that was the straw that broke the camel's back. We said, okay, we've got to reevaluate things.
Well, you can only stick with him so long. Either that or he's going to have a heart attack over there watching him.
The 2-2. And that's out of play. Just missed. Boy, there have been a lot of close pitches tonight, and you'd have to say it's been a hitter-friendly strike zone.
I was going to say it's a hitter's zone because there was nothing called low. That's not a bad pitch whatsoever, but he hasn't made that call all night long. He took a few away from Kluber, so I would say you're right. Hitter's strike zone tonight.
And that's in the hole for a base hit. And a 2-out single here in the 9th for Austin Jackson. Going to keep the inning alive for Robinson Cano, but it won't be McAllister to face him. Terry Francona going to go to the bullpen, and it looks like Mark Zipchinski will get the call when we come back. 3-1 Seattle, 9th inning. There are 2 outs. Mark Zubchinski on to face Robinson Cano. Zubchinski making his 29th appearance. 1 up, 2 down, 3.29 ERA. He's punched out 16, walked only 5. So Cano digs in. He's 2 for 4. He doubled in the first run of the game in the first inning. He doubled again with 1 out in the 5th, but was stranded at 3rd in that frame. He wasn't trying to go the opposite way of that pitch. He was trying to yank that one. Both doubles going to the opposite field against Corey Kluber tonight.
Yeah, they took Kluber the other way, all left-handers. He gave up 4 doubles tonight, all going the opposite way. And then Seager ended up turning on the double off of Nick Hagedorn that started that 8th inning and set up that 1 run there.
Mariners have 10 hits on the night. Bounce foul. And a count 0-2. Jackson takes off on the 0-2 pitch, swing and a miss, strikes him out to end the inning. We go to the bottom of the 9th. Indians down 2. Time now for our Yellowwood bringing the lumber play of the game. Hasn't been much for the Indians tonight, but Yan Gomes brought the lumber in the 2nd with his first home run on the year. And that got the Indians within a run at 2-1. But that has been it tonight for Cleveland.
Yeah, offensively they haven't been able to generate anything else.
They've had 1 runner get beyond first base since that home run by Gomes. And that was in the third inning when Michael Brantley reached second base.
Well, Carson Smith going to come on and try and close it for the Mariners. You can see 1 out of 2. He came on and pitched against the Indians. He was pretty much their setup man. Everybody, when we were out there, they wanted him to make the move to this guy. Then, well, he's going to get an opportunity. Looks like a little bit of a short armor. He has good stuff.
Well, his first blown save came early. That was in April 11th. And I don't know what inning that was that he suffered that blown save. I'm assuming it wasn't the ninth in that situation because Rodney was the closer early in the year. But just 3 days ago, he worked a 1-2-3 ninth inning against Tampa Bay to hold a 2-1 lead and get his first career big league save.
All right. Well, opposition hitting just 140 off him, and it's 7, 8, 9 in the lineup here for the Indians. I would imagine you'd see Moss and then a pinch hitter, maybe Murphy for Urshela.
Popped him up foul and out of play.
Need a base runner to get the tying run to the plate. Seattle again trying to win a game now with 3 runs in the game. And the Indians right now 26 times 3 runs or less. This would be number 27 if they do not come back.
Way outside. The 2-1. And a chopper foul. The 2-2. Hit well. Deep center field. Jackson back, looking up. It is gone to Souvenir City. Yan Gomes with his second solo home run of the night. And the Indians are within a run now at 3-2. Boy, Yan Gomes is back with authority. He is really swinging the bat well.
Hung him a breaking ball. Boy, down in his wheelhouse, so they're on the board now. That leadoff man, it's been all Gomes tonight. 2 solo home runs, leading off an inning. He did it in the second, did it in the ninth. Now they're just 1 swing away from tying it up.
Gomes now 8 for 20 in his last 5 games. And now Brandon Moss looks at a ball low and away. How about that? Last time he did it was against these Mariners 2 years ago. 2-homer game for Gomes. Brandon Moss 1 for 3. He singled in the 4th inning. And a bouncer into the outfield grass where Cano throws him out 1 away. And that will bring up a pinch hitter now for Giovanni Urshela. And the pinch hitter will be Michael Bourne. Bourne on the year is 0 for 3 as a pinch hitter. Overall batting .244. And really mired in a slump. 0 for his last 12. It seemed like he was really making a lot of progress offensively before that series against Baltimore sent him into a nosedive. Pitch outside, ball one. Now David Murphy has moved to the on-deck circle to bat for Mike Aviles. Bourne punching one towards center. On the run, Jackson can't get there. It falls in front of him. And now the tying run is aboard with one out in the ninth inning. And now the wheel's starting to turn a little bit. Carson Smith, who worked a 1-2-3 save 3 nights ago, has given up a leadoff home run, now a one-out single. And now he's got David Murphy with Jason Kipnis waiting on deck.
Well, the tying run aboard.
Murphy punches one towards center. Jackson, a long run to go. He gets there and makes the grab for out number 2. Well, Murphy trying to aggressively jump on that first pitch. But Jackson, who was playing deep, made a good break on the ball. And now it comes down to Jason Kipnis.
Well, out comes McClendon. I don't know if he's going to talk to his closer. I didn't notice if they had anybody else warming up. It looks like they have a left-hander out there. Joe Beimel. Did he make the call? Didn't notice.
Not yet.
Okay.
There goes Dale Scott. And up.
McClendon
Well,
breaks it up.
a
little conversation going on out there. I don't know if they convinced him or what happened, but so far tonight, Cleveland 0 for 12 hitting with runners on base. They have not been able to get a base hit. The 2 home runs by Gomes, and that's been it, but what a time to start would be right now. Last at bat, Jason extended his hitting streak to 19 here at Progressive Field.
Bourne the tying run at first. Kipnis takes a strike. Kipnis shoots one down the left field line, just foul. Oh, that would have been nice.
Well, you see it slicing. He knows it's slicing, foul.
Smith has Kipnis in a big hole down 0-2. And a ground ball right at Cano. He'll throw out Kipnis. And the game is over. The Mariners beat the Indians by a final score of 3-2. And Seattle has now scored 3 runs or less in a franchise record 13 straight games. But it's enough to beat the Tribe tonight as the Indians fall to 27.